Hello everyone. I, Dr. Vibha Rathod, Assistant Professor History from the Department of Humanities, BSSS College, Bhopal. The naming of any country, region and place, it takes shape after its political and social conditions. Through the historical perspective, this presentation considers all about the naming of Bharatvarsha. So today I'm going to focus on idea of Bharat or the concept of Bharatvarsha through some discourses which are available with us in the form of evidences. So let's start our journey of understanding the Bharatvarsha. Before coming to the point, I just want to tell that what other thinkers, especially the Western thinkers and the Indian thinkers, they had said about India. The first one, it is Mircea Eliade. What she said, that chairman of Department of History, Religions at Chicago University had asserted that it is essential that we know and understand a thought that has held a place of the first importance in the history of universal spirituality. It means that the Western thinkers, they were also very much impressed about the Indian spirituality and Indian thoughts. Next, Daisaku Ikeda. He said that referring to the Upanishadic aphorism that is Tattvam Asi, remarks that these words can be regarded as one of the great contribution to mankind by the Indian people, that is the choose life. Another, Albert Einstein, that all are aware about, this famous American scientist, he said that we owe a lot to Indians and who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery could have been made. Another Western thinker, Bet Griffith, he said that Vedic understanding of integrality of three worlds, one it is physical, second it is psychological, and third it is spiritual, is a profoundly holistic vision. Mark Twain, a very famous person, he said that India is the cradle of human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most instructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only. David Frawley, he affirms that Vedic religion is a broad culture embracing all life, not a creed-seeking converts, that is God, sages and kings. A.L. Basham, a great historian, he feels that four main cradles of civilization, the Indian subcontinent deserves a larger share of credit than she is usually given. In his book, The Wonder That Was India, he mentions that no land on the earth is still continuing with that oldest faith and beliefs which were already there 3000 years back in the country. So he has written that the Vedic hymns which were composed more than 3000 years ago, still in India, the Brahmins are singing the same. Max Muller, who never visited India, but he edited around 49 books, and from that 33 books are totally written on the sacred literature of West. So when people in India arriving, East India Company people were arriving to India and has discourse, he said to them that if I were to ask myself from what literature we hear in Europe may draw that corrective which is the most wanted in order to make our inner life more perfect, more universal, and in fact more truly human, I should point out to India. Aurobindo, a great Indian philosopher, he also said that materially you are nothing, but spiritually you are everything. So recover the Vedanta, the Gita, the Yoga. So recover them not only in intellect or sentiment, but in your lives. So that is the work of a Karma Yogi. Action is more important according to Indian scripture. So today, when we have to come and to accept the geographical bounded country and a constitutionally defined country, we should which we belong, we should go in the past and we need to get the important and the various aspects related to the term Bharatvarsha, India or Hindustan. So historiographically, we are at a particular juncture in our efforts to understand that meaning Bharatvarsha, which particularly because there are sharply different approaches which are taken by different historians, different thinkers on the naming of this country. So the concept of Bharatvarsha. So when we talk about the concept of Bharatvarsha or the naming of Bharatvarsha, we know that ancient Indian historians and scholars, they expressed different ways and different opinions about this expression. So here in this slide, you can see the map. The map which you can see right now, it is totally different from today's map. If you compare, you will find that northwestern part, that is already in the part of India. If we say that Afghanistan, Baluchistan and Pakistan part, it is also the part merged with India. If we go downside and we'll see that Southwest Asia, it is also included in the map. So this map actually, it is the map of the time period of Mahabharata. So this is the broad India which we are going to talk today. So when I'm talking about the four successive definitional moments of India, I need to talk about the ancient time period and gradually when Europeans and the other foreign invaders came to India, that what concept they had given about the naming of this country. So firstly, that is the Puranic definition of Bharatvarsha. Puranic definition in the Puranas or in other holy scriptures, what definition is mentioned about Bharatvarsha, that I will discuss. Then next, the foreign invaders, Persian and the Greeks, they came to India, how they changed the name of the India according to their own perceptions. And the third one, that is the colonial definition of British India. So when the Europeans came to India, how they considered this country, it is all about that. And lastly, if I am talking about our constitution, in constitution, that is the bilingual meaning of India, it is also mentioned, that is the nation under a dual and bilingual identity, that is India, that Bharat. It is mentioned if you remember your constitutional words. So when I am talking about India or the naming of the India, so here I can talk about three names. First, it is Bharatvarsha. And second, we go, it is all about that Hindustan. And third, it is India. Fine. Another term we listen most of the time, that is Hindu or Hindustan. So basically the term Hindustan, it is already eroded from our constitution when we were framing our constitution, but the concept Bharatvarsha and India was kept in that. So let us define that how we got the name Bharatvarsha and how we got the name Hindustan and India. So how the name Bharatvarsha came up, it is in the next slide. So according to the scriptural description, the Brahmand and the entire earth planet is called Bharatvarsh, but particularly the area of the continent that lies off the south of the Himalayas, it is called Bharatvarsha. As per the contents of various Puranas, Bharatvarsha was the land which formed the part of the larger unit, it is called Jambudvip. If we see our ancient scriptures, we got the name of Jambudvip. So Jambudvip, it is known as the apple tree island, and it is actually said that there are 6 continents in the world. So in that 6 other similar annular shaped continents that are concentrically organized around Mount Meru, that is the axis mundi, situated just beneath the polar star. So it is said that the island of Jambudvip, it is already surrounded by other 6 continents. So Jambudvip, it is said that the part of India where mostly the important rulers ruled. Next, in the epics, it is already mentioned that Uttaram Yat Samudra यत समुद्रस्य हिमाद्रेश्चैव दक्षिणम वर्षम तद भारतम नाम भारती यत्र संतति. So this is the evidence which we have taken from Vishnu Puran. So Vishnu Puran, it is mentioned that the country that lies north of the ocean and the south of a snowy mountain, it is called Bharata, and there the people who dwell, they are known as the descendants of Bharat, yani Bharat Santati. So the large countries are named after citizen and its race. In this context, it could be said that the name Bharatvarsha had been derived from the Bharata race of Vedic Aryans. So here we need to understand that in Vedic time period there were lot of clans and lot of tribal people were there. So there was the largest clan which was known as Bharata. So on the name of that particular clan, this country has got the name Bharatvarsha. So Bharat were a venerable and ancient tribe who were mentioned in Rig Veda. So we cannot deny the facts are already available. In Rig Veda, there is mentioned that the 10 Kings War, it is known as Dasaragya Yuddh also. So in that, the battle of 10 kings, it is mentioned that Bharata clan, it became victorious and they started ruling in that entire continent, and after that the country got its name Bharata. Then Aitareya Brahman, it is again a very old scripture, holy scripture. In that it is mentioned that Bharata was a universal monarch who had built a vast empire, winning vast areas of land spread all over the 4 directions. Then another, that is Maitreya Puran. So Maitreya Puran is saying that the land ruled by Manu, the primogenitor of the human race, was named Bharatvarsha. So lot of different concepts on the basis of our ancient scriptures are available with us, that why it is known as Bharatvarsha. So in Hindu tradition, there were 3 personifications of Bharata, and one for each we can divide on the basis of our classical time period or the time cycles. One, it is Satyug, second it is Treta Yuga, and third it is Dwapar Yuga. So if we talk about the first period, that is the Bharat of Satyug. So when I am telling you about that, the Satyug time period, the very great saint named Rishabdev. So Rishabdev, actually he is known as the ancient sage or the first jinn of Jaina religion. It is said that his son Bharata, he became very popular, and on the name of his son, this country got the name Bharatvarsha. Adi Puran of Jinn Sen, actually this is the main evidence which tells us all about that Rishabdev, he attained enlightenment and became the first jinn, and Chakra, that wheel which is appeared as the armory of his son Bharat and proclaimed him Chakravarti Samrat. Chakravarti Samrat, it doesn't mean that only the area, it means that the ruler was ruling with whole political, socio and economic scenario in that part. Then Bharata had a son who ensured the continuation of Ikshwaku dynasty, which was founded by Rishabdev. So in the first yug, Satyug, it is the concept that the son of Rishabdev, Bharata, he ruled in this vast continent, and after that the country got the name Bharatvarsha. Second, if I am talking about the Treta Yuga, so Treta Yuga, there was a second Bharat who came in the Treta Yuga and was the son of King Dashrath and the brother of Lord Rama. He exemplified the virtues of love, devotion and brotherhood, and in his actions and his words. This can be considered to be one of the longest ruling time period under Rama's reign, over 30,000 years in this Vedic era. So the second Treta Yuga, it is given to Bharat. Then third, if we talk about the third Bharat, the son of Dushyant and Shakuntala. There, the story of Shakuntala and Dushyant, it is also mentioned by Kalidas in a very famous book, that is Abhigyan Shakuntalam. So Bharat, he was born to Shakuntala, and because he was very brave, very ideal son, so later Dushyanta had given that his entire kingdom to Bharat, and Bharat is regarded as the greatest king of India who lent his name to the country. He personified the values of service, valor, and charity. So, in that way, we can conclude that the three important time period they brought eternal values and eternal tradition with us. So, thus these three Bharatas seamlessly united the Satyug, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, and the land itself political and cultural unity. So, they exemplified three ideals that permeated Hindu civilization and form the core values of this day. Rishabh Dev's son Bharat gave us Daya, Karuna, Brahmagyan, and Tapas. Dashrath's son Bharat gave us Prem, Bhakti, and Bandhutva. Then Dushyant's son, Shakuntala's son Bharat gave us Seva, Shaurya, and Dan. So, in that way, these moral beliefs and virtues came up in the society. So, the terms it needs to be remembered had different origins. One, perceiving the country from what may be called a geographically outer perspective and conveying different meanings in different contexts, and the other, Bharatvarsha, consistently but not eternally used in early text of different varieties located with a completely different cosmographic structure. Now, the concept of Hindustan. So, Bharatvarsha concept we have already I discussed. This is all because on the basis of three different yugas. But when we talk about this concept of Hindustan, we say that some foreign invaders, they came to India, they invaded the northern west part of India and settled here in India. Later, they adopted the Indian culture, in that the Persians were the first one and later the Greeks people, they came to India. So the Persians actually they used to call Hindu for the Sindhu river. Northwestern there is a great river which is known as Indus river, and it is also known as Sindhu river. So because the people, those who used to live near that Sindhu area or Sindhu river, they were called by the Persians Hindu. Then when Muslims invaded Bharatvarsh from the west, they started calling the inhabitants of Bharatvarsh again Hindus. Accordingly, the country of the Hindus was called Hindustan. So they added one more term, that is Sthan. Sthan actually the meaning is place, right? The place is Sthan, and the Hindus where Hindus live. So that is why they started calling Hindustan. For speaking convenience, the colloquial form of the word Sthan. Sthan, it was a little bit difficult in that speaking part, so they converted it to Stan. So that is why later on the Sthan takes place of Stan, and Hindu, it was added in that. So in that it is known as Hindustan. So Hindustan, the word, the term came into being. The Greeks, when they came to India, they call Indus river as Indus and started calling the Hindu people as Indu. Why? Because there is no letter H is available in the Greek alphabet. So, Hindu, they started calling Indu. So, later on, when these European people, they emerged in the country, the concept of India, it changed. When English people, they came to the subcontinent for their convenience, they altered the names of quite a few places. Not only the places, they altered the names of some rivers also. They called Indus for the Sindhu river, and accordingly they started calling the people of living near Indus river, that is India, for Hindustan or Bharatvarsh. So instead of calling Hindustan and Bharatvarsh, they had given the new name, that is India. So thus the words Hindu and India become more popular. The identity of India and Bharatvarsh was further formalized in the Solomon Declaration of our Constitution, that is India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. So this declaration puts a historical seal on the identity of our country and nationality, but necessarily not on our history. The members of Constituent Assembly, they had lot of discussions on the naming of this country. So vision of the new India that could not be shared by most delegates of the Constitutional Assembly because it clashed with their understanding of what the emerging secular state, because the country since beginning it is a secular state. Nobody has given the preference to any such religion in the country. So that is why it was very difficult to naming the country in that time period. Then the proceedings which took place in Constitutional Assembly or constitutional debates now will take the name India, and Hindustan kept reappearing throughout the debates for the simple reason that the country whose constitution was being written had to be constantly referred to in one way or another. But when it came to the naming question, Bharata was the first name to appear, and gradually Bharatvarsha, Aryavart and Hind it was considered, but Hindustan was put at the margin. So today, after naming, remaining in bondage for 1,000 years, this free country will regain its name, and we hope that after regaining its lost name, it will regain its inner consciousness and external form and will begin to act under the inspiration of its soul, which had been so far in a sort of sleep. So it will indeed regain its prestige in the world. We should indeed give such a name to our country as may be befitting our history too, and our culture also. So it is a matter of great pleasure when we think about renaming the country again, that is Bharatvarsha. There is a great quote given by Muhammad Iqbal. He said, "Yunan, Misr, Rome, sab mit gaye jahan se, ab tak magar hai baki namo nisha hamara." कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहां हमारा. Lastly, I am concluding that civilizations here arisen in other parts of the world. In ancient and modern times, wonderful ideas have been carried forward from one race to another. So India, for 1,000 years, peacefully existed in this entire continent with a proud culture and a proud heritage. Here actively prevailed when even Greece did not exist even earlier, when history has no record and tradition dares no peer into. That time India, Bharatvarsh was there. So thank you all for listening. So next series I'll come again with the understanding of Bharat, in which I'm going to talk about the essence of the idea of Bharat, and simultaneously, I'll discuss about the old scriptures like Vedas, Upanishads, Brahmans, and other scriptures which are a great heritage of our Indian subcontinent. Thank you very much.